It's about 6 after. This is the Kubeflow community meeting for May 10th, 2022. And Josh Bottom here starting this meeting. We have an agenda where this is the meeting to review primarily the releases and their status, but other topics that may come up. As we always do at the beginning, if there's any new members that would like to say hello now or potentially at the end of the meeting, I'll give you a chance to introduce yourself if you feel compelled to say hello. We'd love to see who you are and what you're using Kubeflow for. Any new members that would like to say hello? Okay, I know sometimes it's getting off mute or whatever, but people will come in and provide updates. I'm going to move on to the notebook working group roadmap. Y'all can see kind of our flow here. We're going to do the notebook working group roadmap. We'll talk about Kubeflow 1.5.1 and then into 1.6. Kimonis, I believe you're on. Is this agenda work for you? Are you ready to talk about the notebook working group roadmap?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Josh.
Should I stop screen share? Do you need to share anything?
Let me just show my screen and we can go. I'll just go over the issue. I didn't have the time to prepare some slides, but give me just a second. So, check. How do I share my screen in Zoom? Oh, there it is. It's just like one button. Okay, minutes.
You muted yourself, Kimonas.
I think my computer disables my microphone once I'm sharing. I'm not sure why.
Do you want me to see if I can share it? That if you're just gonna present off the item, I can just see if I can bring it up in hold on for 1 second.
Yep, that would work.
And then you can talk and I can present. I think this is it. Hold on. Let me go back to present mode and see if I can pull this up. All right, is it? No, this is 1.51 tracking. I'm sorry. We need to go back to, it's this one, sorry. Okay, does this look right?
Yep. Thanks, Josh. So the first and most important thing that we're hunting down and tracking is the support for 1.22. We've merged the first big item, which is support for notebooks. So for anyone that feels adventurous, you can try and use the master branch and you can actually deploy the notebooks controller and CRD on a Kubernetes 1.22 cluster. So we're really targeting on supporting 1.22 for this release. And I'm also looking at how to upgrade the testing infrastructure that we have so that we can also deploy Kubernetes 1.22 clusters so that we also run our tests both for notebooks and for manifest working group for 1.22. We do have in-flight PRs for all of the components, so I'm very confident we are going to get everything merged for that effort for 1.6. Next up, we have some small improvements to the platform, and specifically, we've seen that the admission webhook or the pod defaults web server will not automatically auto-detect new certificates, which means if you have your pod running for more than 2 months, first of all, congratulations, and secondly, After 2 months, the certificate that expires, but the webhook does, even though Kubernetes itself and Cert Manager will renew the certificate, the admission webhook itself will not pick it up. So we'll have some small fix for that so that the admission webhook can auto-detect the new certificates and use them. Then following through, we have some small updates, some iterative updates and improvements on the web apps. We want to introduce some support for sorting and filtering on the front-end side so that we make it easier for users to be able to locate and pinpoint all of their resources. We really want to do this both for notebooks, volumes, and tensor boards, although this can be extended to the other web apps as well, like Katib and Kserve. And we have some small improvements further by stepping on top of the idleness functionality we introduced in 1.5. We want to expose more of this information into the web apps. One other item that I had the time to add there yet, but we're going to start tracking is also extend the central dashboard to give you an option. This will be a per web app setting, but for the central dashboard to have an option for users to select the way you select like namespace A, namespace B, we'll have another option for all namespaces. And the central dashboard will be able to expose that information to the underlying web app. Again, it will be per web app, so web apps that will not support it will not be able to, we won't allow users to click on it. And essentially you can click to view all objects like all notebooks, all volumes, all tensor boards at the same time, which in parallel with filtering and sorting could really help users to get a better grasp of what's going on with their cluster. And also, of course, by all namespaces, I'm talking about the namespaces that the user already has access to. So the one that you can already see in the central dashboard, it's not going to magically show you more namespaces than you already should be able to see. But in any case, we'll prepare a design doc for that to fully expose how the central dashboard will handle it, what is the UX going to be, how can other web applications conform to that as well as discuss some performance related discussions which we need to have. And this gets me very nicely to the next item, which is we really want to push forward a design improvement for the web apps, because right now the whole the front ends will ask for all of the data at once, which really can slow down the whole operation of the web apps once we have a lot of objects to fetch. There are a couple of ways to tackle this, like asking for pages from the backend and see how can we utilize the Kubernetes APIs for that, or do some caching on the front end so that we remember some state on the browser and try to ask new things from there. But in any case, we will also like to start a design discussion about it to see how we can actually start improving on that front, because the more and more we get new users, this is one of the pain points that we think is going to be rising more and more. So this is the high overview of items we at least have in mind right now. If you have any features that you would like us to either prioritize or try and see if we could fit on that on this schedule, or if you have some feature that you would like to implement yourself, feel free to add a comment on that issue, and we can keep the discussion and see how can we fit everything and see and deliver the best we can for 1.6 and notebooks. So if anyone has questions, feel free to discuss, and we can then move on with the agenda.
Hey, Kimonas, I think the roadmap over here is super nice. I think it's good to like kind of prioritize them first. One small item that I'm interested in, we don't need to like adjust the roadmap for that right now. Is it possible to view the volume size for notebook in the Jupyter Web App UI?
If it would be able to view the volumes, you mean the full, the size of all the volumes that the notebook is using?
The size of PVC that has been mounted to the notebook instance. So currently,
Okay.
we can see a list of a volume being attached to a notebook. So there's a drop down that you click on that and you can see all the volume. But for PVC, especially when we create a notebook, we will specify what is the size of the volume being attached, being created for this notebook, right? So if we can show the size, like for example, 10 gigabyte or 20 gigabyte, it will be helpful. I think it's like probably involve like querying more things because like you need to query PVC resource as well. But it's just a small feature that I can think of. Yeah.
That's a really nice that's a nice small improvement that can help definitely help people have more overview of what's going on with their notebooks. And regarding that, this really makes sense. And I think you also had another proposal, like how if we could expose the web app to be able to stop kernels for notebooks. So if I've been thinking about how can we get the whole experience even more cohesive, and again, based on those two great ideas of yours on how can we expose more of this information, I really want to start an effort where we can have dedicated page for each notebook as well, and volume and TensorBoard. So just like we have for a CATIB experiment or for an inference service of Kaiser, where you can click on a specific item and see details like the logs, the annotations, the YAML. So if we can do this for notebooks as well, we can also have a dedicated section for volumes there as well, which once we have a page for each item, when you can click to each volume of a notebook and it can take you to the page, to the specific page of that volume on the volumes web app, so that you can, from then everything starts to get linked together. And for example, in the volumes web app, you can also have a column for a volume that says these are the notebooks that are, or the pods that are mounting your volume. So then it becomes way more easier to do exploratory work on top of Kubeflow via the UIs. So you can just go from one UI to the other and see how the objects correlate with each other. So to wrap it up, yeah, the ideas of exposing more information make a lot of sense. I'll try to create an tracking issue for that small proposal with the size as well. And I think the more ideas we can get around how can we get more information to the user and make the user be able to stay in the UIs and fully figure out what's happening, this is really going to improve the overall experience of the user, so that they don't have to touch any terminal and always be able to know what's going on. So yeah, thanks for the proposal, James.
Yeah, definitely, I think your thinking process totally makes sense. And then we do have a volume app that shows a list of volume. It's only that like if you create a volume detail page, maybe the Jupyter web app and the volume app also need to depends on this share page. So we can think of like how do we implement that. But just a heads up that probably we have like two apps depends on the share page. So yeah, so in general, I think it's definitely a good approach to take. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, any other questions on the Kubeflow Notebook Working Group Roadmap? Okay, if not, we can always come back to that. I'm going to go back to the agenda. Thank you, Kimonis, for providing that update, and James for those comments. Definitely something I've run into in the past. So I guess we can talk about Kubeflow 1.5.1. Is that okay? Kimonis, again, this is something that you've been kind enough to lead the charge on. I don't know if Kartik is on, but be glad to see if we could get an update on Kubeflow 1.5.1.
So the only pending item right now is we want to include the fix for it's not exactly fixed, but for some platforms, as we've seen and discussed in the past, you need to use a different way of generating a certificate, and in this case, we need it for pipelines. So we have an in-flight PR for that. the only question once we merge that, we can just have the release. Ideally, I want us to have this release by the end of the week. So, James, sorry if I'm going to put you on the spot for a sec. We don't have to have the full technical answer right now, but I'd like to understand if we could add this fix first into the KFP manifest and then just copy everything. But this could require also a minor release, like an 8.1.8.2 for KFP to include that. Or if you think the timeline is too tight for doing it this week, you can just add such an overlay on the manifest repo and give some instructions on why someone would need to use it and expose that information there, and move on with the manifest PR. So if you had some time, take a look to these issues as well and provide us with your feedback as well. Both of the options are fine for me. I just want to ensure that we can deliver by the end of the week and don't postpone the release further on.
I think the right way to do it is do it in the KFP repo, right? So I think, yeah, first thing to do is to check in the manifest change to the KFP repo. And then what I can do is to maybe cherry pick it to the 1.8 branch. Then I can see when I can release a new version for that. But at least I know this is the right thing to do, right? Do it in the KFP repo. So you can just pull it directly from upstream. About the time commitment, I probably don't have enough time to do it right away. But yeah, let's see whether we can check in that change first.
Okay. Thanks for the update, James. We'll see how to track it.
And also, like, yeah, at the bare minimum, like you can also make a release in a fork repo. That basically means like if I have my account, GitHub account, and then I fork the KFP repo, and then I can at least point the upstream to that location for temporary solution. Then we don't need to have an official update to the 1.8, because the challenge right now is our latest version is 2.0 alpha 2, so we need to do some cherry pick. But yeah, but I think at least like we should like first check into KFP repo and then do a cherry pick release for 1.8.
Okay, makes sense. Let's discuss more to see how we can do this then.
Yeah, one more thing, Karthik here. James, we also need to merge the cache server changes first, which requires like a image build. So I think we need to merge it to like the KFP repo, and we can't like do it on like a fork.
Oh, I see. Yeah, you're right. Yeah, because Chen is the one who has the backend permission for approving your PR. I think, yeah, let's merge both your PR to KFP repo. Then
Okay.
we can make a cherry pick release for 1.8. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
So, hey guys, I'm going to push on you guys a little bit because we've not done a good job of messaging this, at least in the notes that I've been taking. I think we've given people expectations that we would have 1.5.1 kind of cut several weeks now. Is there a way that we could look at a calendar and say, you know, perhaps we could get a, you know, is this a week from now? Is this 2 weeks from now? The problem is, we talked about in the release team, is that the longer this hangs out there, the more it starts to overlap with 1.6. Let me see if I can nicely ask this. Could we have this by the 20th, 10 days from now? Is that a reasonable request?
It's not just myself, because I also need to include Chen
Okay.
To the conversation because he can only he can approve the backend change. So yeah, let me work with Chen to talk about that, and I will look at the manifest change, and he will look at the backend cache server change. Then I have to get back to you
Okay.
after I
I
confirm with
understand.
you. I'm sorry.
No, I get it. I get it. All right. So we'll leave this with TBD. We've got the tracking issue, right? This 2185. If people are interested, that's
Yep.
if people want more information. And we'll go with what if somebody wants to clean up these notes about what the timing, the delivery, and how to report issues. So once people bring 1.5.1, once we bring it to market, I want to make sure that if people have issues using it, that they know what repo to put the issues in. I assume primarily they'll either be in KFP or in the manifest. So I just want to make sure that for the folks that want to use that they have a process. So if you guys could think about that before the next meeting or two, and we can get that nailed down, I think that would be a good thing. All right, let's move on. And these are the tasks here, the cert manager and cert manager manifest, I think that we're tracking. If there's others, maybe we can add them as well. Okay, 1.5.1. I do think we should recognize the experiences as we go into 1.6. And Anna is the release team lead there for that, but all the release team members should be kind of watching what's going on here as we move forward with 1.6. Anna, are you available to talk about 1.6 and our update from the release team meeting yesterday?
Yeah, sure. So I just have two things to bring up. One, which is feature freeze. It's coming up in June 1st. So that's less than a month away. So just be aware of that. And also another thing that was heavily discussed during the release team meeting was that, so last few weeks, the release team has been working on trying to identify the dependency versions for the 1.6. And based on the initial input that we have gathered from different working groups, the release team has a proposal out on which version we are trying to aim for 1.6, which is what's written there on the notes. Kubernetes 1.22, Istio 1.13, Knative 0.23.2, and Cert Manager 1.5.0. So there is an issue that has been created, and I have tagged all the working group leads as well. And so we're just, we just have the proposal out. So if you have any concerns or feedback on the versions, please let us know either here or on the issue.
Hi, Anna, Yihong here. I work in IBM for IKS, and I read the meeting minutes yesterday for the release team, and I did have a short discussion with the team. And as you know, Paul, I work with Paul, and Paul is working on Kserve, and we have some issue about the Knative version. So because the question is that Paul mentioned that he's not sure when the Kubeflow 1.6 release, if it can come with the Kserve 0.9. If they will go with the 0.9, then the Knative version should be at least 1.
Yeah, so Maciek is the working group liaison. He did actually tell me about this issue. So one of the things that I'm questioning is that for Kubeflow 1.5, the Knative version was 0.22.1.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering how that would have worked with the previous version if you're already on Knative 1.0. Like, so is that gonna be, you think it's going to be a huge impact if we don't aim for that version?
Yeah, because if the Kserve version will be using the 0.9, then the minimum version for Knative is 1. And I think you are right. He actually mentioned about the upgrades procedure. I think he mentioned that for upgrading, you need to gradually apply all the versions up to 1. Yeah, so that's kind of problem, but definitely they need 1 for the 0.9 Kserve, and he aware about that. So I guess he planned to join the release meeting next week. Yeah. So
Okay.
he can discuss more with you about how to do that, and if there's any obstacle upgrading from the 22 to 1. Yeah. Just that you aware that for Kserve they might need at least 1 for Knative.
Okay, thank you for bringing that up. Then for other working groups on the call, would anyone else have a problem if we do upgrade to the version that Kserve needs for Knative?
Just small comment. I think that Knative is only used from Kserve. So if Kserve is okay with it, I don't think someone else or other working groups will have an issue with the Knative update.
Okay, great. Sorry, but someone else was also trying to say something. I missed who that was.
No, and I think I echo the same. I was just talking what Kimona's told, like it's used only by the Kserve team.
Okay, perfect. Thank you both. Then I don't see any problem with upgrading this actually. And we can discuss more in the release team meeting, in the next release team meeting then.
Yeah, thank you, Anna.
Yeah, thank you. That's it from me.
Yeah, I think this is great. Anna, you've done a good job of organizing the team and getting both the working groups and hopefully the distribution owners to understand what the release schedule is. We've gone through the roadmaps now from all the working groups. We have the tracking issue and I believe a Kanban board available. So I think all these things are kind of coming together pretty well. But realistically, this feature freeze here is what is that, 6 weeks away? Is that right? No, less. June, May, June. A couple, what is that? A couple weeks away, right? 3 weeks away. Do I have this wrong?
That's correct. Less than a month.
Less than a month. So look, we saw some great input from the Kubeflow working group roadmaps. And I just think that, folks should be aware that those timelines are coming up. They always seem to be longer than they are. And then also, Kimonas, any question on customize? That tends to be another dependency. I know we're probably in the 3.x, 3.2. Will there be an upgrade of customize to 4.x, or is that a stretch goal?
It's still a stretch goal. It depends on a PR a colleague of mine has on the customize project. Unless customize merges that fix, we can't actually move to that version yet.
If customize implements fix. All right. If you have any details on that fix or whatever we can track in there, I think it would be good. There probably are some reasons that an upgraded version of customize makes sense for us to go to. I don't even know if 3.2 is still supported right by the community. Maybe it is.
I'll add the link right now.
Okay. Okay, any other questions on Kubeflow 1.6? Okay, I know I didn't put this on here, but I'm gonna add it in here. The Kubeflow user survey saw a lot of people using Kubeflow 1.5. In fact, the majority of the community is using Kubeflow 1.5 according to the Kubeflow user survey. Are there any questions or feedback on Kubeflow 1.5? Anybody that's been implementing it, running into questions, anything like that that is top of mind? Boy, that's a really good sign for you, Kimonis. You know, nobody has any questions on Kubeflow 1.5. It must be so good, right? You did a great job delivering. Wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to start to add that on here as an item for people that, you know, because I do see people that come in and they have questions, they open trouble tickets or GitHub issues, and potentially we should perhaps talk about some of those issues that are with the current release. And invite people to the community meeting, at least to highlight the you know, the challenges or the enhancements that they would like. Last call for Kubeflow 1.5. Okay, the Kubeflow user survey is getting really good results, and I don't like to kind of show results, but one of the things that I think is kind of interesting when you look at the responses that we've gotten back so far, so I'm not going to give everybody all the good stuff yet, but how about if we go down to the Kubeflow, oh wow, it's changed a little bit. This is the Kubeflow releases that people are using. So hopefully you can see this. You know, some people are still using 1.2, 1.3, 1.4, 1.5. But very interesting that a lot of people have either upgraded or are using 1.5. And this question here, I think, was pretty good too. James, I think this was your question, and I'm glad we put this in here, is which Kubernetes version are you using in your clusters? And I think this is very insightful that the majority of people are using 19, I mean, excuse me, 21 Kubeflow Kubernetes version 121. Sorry about that. 19 people are using that. And it's kind of interesting that people are using versions beyond 121. I think we need to think what this means. Maybe this means that people aren't using notebooks, I guess.
If I read the question now again, it could also be that they don't have Kubeflow deployed into their clusters. So you could have like a 1-to-1 cluster with Kubeflow, and you have newer clusters where Kubeflow simply doesn't work.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
It's not clear based on the question, right?
Yeah, yeah. James will have to remember that, and Anna, when we do our next time we do a question there, and maybe provide a more specific question.
Yes, I think the current question is already giving us a lot of insight about what Kubernetes cluster that people are using, right? It also gives us a lot of information about how important it is to support the 1.22, right? So yeah, I think it's already a very good result over here. Thank you so much for sharing, because like our community meeting, like we have been like asking a lot about, okay, are you using this version? Are you using that version? To the distribution group, maybe we can also ask this question to users. So that's why this question comes up. It also gives a lot of direction as well. Or if in the future there's a newer Kubernetes version coming up and this cause incompatible changes, and we also can evaluate our priority on the task item as well.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. So look, we have something like 35 people who have graciously volunteered their time to respond to the Kubeflow user survey. My request is everybody on this phone, everybody on the call today, if you could reach out to 2 or 3 people that you know are potential users and ask them please to answer the survey. We could, get over 100 people, I think, if everyone would do that. Last year we had 100 or almost 200 come in on the last survey. And I do believe as you get more responses in, you actually do get some more insights and especially in the freeform question and answer at the end, it does provide some good insight. So we'll continue to kind of give updates from the survey. I think we are going to try to sum that up and get it all kind of a version that everybody could see more details or the complete details in June or probably mid to late June. But if you're going to KubeCon, that might be a place where you could promote, some of the things that communities are doing and ask people to respond to the survey. Any questions on the survey? If people want to look at more details on the survey, I'm glad to share them. I'm just afraid to skew people's comments by seeing what everyone else said if we show too much too early. So it's up to you all. If you want to look more at the survey now or later, it's fine. Okay, I'm going to keep going. We do need to update the Kubeflow roadmap. I think Anna provided some comments on this. This is the published roadmap that we provide. Let me see if I have this available to us. And Anna, you have done a tremendous job once again. Thank you very much in providing some very good detail. If you guys haven't seen this detail that she's put in here about what potentially is in the Kubeflow pipelines roadmap, these are the major features. CATIB, the training operator. So James, you might want to double check this.
So the information was based on the roadmap that everyone shared in the last community meeting. So these are information from them.
And Jono,
Thank you.
On the CATIB and the training operator. The folks from KServe could look at that, and then hopefully we can get what Kimonas gave us just recently and add that in here. That's quite impressive. I guess all of this, I know that some of the working group roadmaps were kind of aspirational and directional, and now we're kind of pinning you down to the middle of the summer. So if there's stuff on here that is like too aggressive for 1.6, please let it's okay if a roadmap has an item on there that's wrong or doesn't get delivered, but we should probably highlight it. If we know it's really a stretch goal, then we should probably kind of identify it as stretch. So Anna, what is your feeling on this? I know you've been kind enough to reply on it. This is what is this under? Kubeflow. It's a pull request 6456. Right now, I think it's good for us to update the roadmap. I think it shows that the community is actively got a go forward. And I think right now our public roadmap says that we're still focused on a a March delivery with 1.5. So it does need to be updated. I guess the request would be if we could get looks good to me from Janu and perhaps James and Kimonis on that, then we could get it posted up here, end of this week or next week. Is that a fair request? Do y'all think you could look at that for us, please?
Sure, sounds
Sure. Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. Well, great. Hey, I'm very excited about what we've accomplished here. And Anna, I think that 1.6 is shaping up to be a really nice release in a lot of ways, both process-wise and content-wise. And I'm actually quite impressed with the fact that people have upgraded to 1.5. And I'm just wondering, as we talk about going to 1.6, I don't think we've ever really thought about providing like upgrade instructions or whatever. And I don't know if we want to even try to do that in 1.6, but it's an idea of something we might want to put on the topics that, since everybody upgraded to 1.5 so quickly, then, or maybe I guess just installed 1.5 so quickly, maybe we should think about, is there some type of guidelines to upgrade to 1.6, or whether we want to tackle that now. Any opinions? Okay. All right. Anybody else want to say hello? Any walk-on topics? Anything that people want to talk about in the agenda forum? Okay, I'll leave the bridge up. I'm going to stop sharing, but if people want to continue to discuss, I'll just close the formal recorded meeting now. Let's see. Oh, I guess I can't stop the recording. All right. I think that's it. If people have more comments, I'll leave the bridge up for a few more minutes, and then I'll just close it down if I don't hear any comments.
Yeah, thank you so much for organizing this. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.